soup. This recipe is not lentil soup, but an Italian-style lentils. This dish layers the earthy tones of lentils with robust flavors of sausage, beautifully married together in a delicious tomato sauce. It's comforting, it's satisfying, and it's the perfect for a family dinner or any special occasion. For the full ingredient list, check the description box below, but enough talking, let's get cooking. There is not a lot of prep for this recipe, and that's why I like it so much. So we're gonna put a medium dice on some onions, we're gonna mince some garlic, and we're gonna shred a carrot. And basically what we're doing is we're making some lentils, we're making a tomato sauce, and we're just mixing the two together. So let's add a little bit of onion inside that tomato sauce for a little bit of sweetness. And also onion just adds just wonderful flavors to anything. I mean, onion's the most versatile vegetable in the history of vegetables. Now we're gonna peel and shred a carrot. There's a million ways to make tomato sauce. For this one, I like to add the carrot. I think it adds really nice flavors and that pair up with the onion, and it's just another vegetable throw in there. So I like adding a lot of vegetables to my foods. We could just boil these lentils, but that's a little boring. So now I'll use my tower shredder to shred this carrot. And the way I like to do it is I like to shred the carrot on top of a paper towel, and then I use the paper towel to transfer all the shredded carrot in there. I'll clean up that shredder. And now just like that, transferring the shredded carrot with ease. Now let's take this pile of garlic and put a mince on it. In my opinion, I have never encountered a tomato sauce with too much garlic, so feel free to use as much or as little as you'd like, but again, the exact amount we're going for is too much garlic, and we've never yet gotten there. And if this looks like too much garlic, it's probably just right. The last thing we gotta prep is we gotta take our Italian sausage and we gotta remove the casing because we're gonna do a crumbled sausage with these lentils. So you can buy the sausage that's out of the casing already, but I already had these, so this is what we're using. And I'm just gonna split the casing open, remove that, and crumble the sausage into small little chunks, and it'll make it easier to break up in the pan. But we're not gonna break it up too much when we're cooking it. We want it to remain in like little crumbles, but not being too small. Some big chunks, some little chunks. If you are working with ground meat, and you should break it up with your hands a little bit before, and it just helps you save some time instead of going berserker inside the pan. And you can feel free to leave out the sausage because I know a lot of people like lentil recipes. They want to do it totally vegetarian. So you can leave this out, but I think the sausage lends a very nice flavor to the heartiness of the lentils. And let's be honest, sausage makes everything better. Let's head over to the stove. We're gonna get our lentils boiling, and we're gonna start sauteing these vegetables in a sausage. First thing we gotta do is get our lentils going, and then we'll make our tomato sauce. To this pan, we're gonna add 3 cups of dried lentils, and I'm making this in a large volume because I like to make a lot. I feel like I can never have too many of these lentils around. And I've already given these a little rinse before they go in the pot. Now we're gonna add 4 cups of chicken broth, and this is the low sodium version. Anytime you can cook in broth instead of water, it's just gonna add additional flavor. So we're gonna put the whole box in there. And now to that, we're gonna add 2 cups of water. So we got 4 cups of broth and 2 cups of liquid in there, so 6 cups total. And a good ratio for lentils is like 3 to 1. So 3 cups of liquid to 1 cup of lentils. So I'm gonna put this on a high heat and let's get this boiling. And while these lentils are coming up to a boil, let's add a little bit of my base seasoning. This is a blend of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. And a little olive oil. Once this comes up to a boil, we're gonna leave it covered and we're gonna put the heat on low and we're gonna let it simmer for anywhere between 25 to 30 minutes until the lentils have absorbed the water and they're nice and tender. But while this is going on, let's make our tomato sauce. Now in a separate pan, let's heat this up over a medium heat. So we're gonna get this pan hot over a medium heat and we're gonna brown some of that sausage. So once this pan has preheated enough, we're gonna add just a little bit of oil to get the sausage going. And we're gonna add our crumbled sausage. And once I spread this sausage out, I'm gonna leave it untouched because I wanna get a little bit of browning on the outside of the sausage before I start crumbling it up. Once this sausage has taken on a little bit of color, you can see we got nice browning on the outside of that. So now let's start crumbling up the bigger pieces and make them a little smaller. Once I've broken up some of the bigger chunks and everything is all nice and brown and cooked, we're going to use a slotted spoon and we're going to remove the brown sausage. So now that sausage is out of there, we're just gonna add just a touch more oil, not much, and we're gonna add our onions and our carrots. And I'll turn the heat down just a little. We don't wanna get much color on these, we just want them to sweat out. And if anytime I think the pan's a little dry, I'm just gonna add just a touch more oil. Remember, if there's not enough oil inside the pan, stuff burns. So if you see it and it's burning, it just probably doesn't have enough oil. That and the heat's probably too hot. So I'm gonna let these cook for a few minutes and soften up, and once they start to look translucent, then we'll add our garlic. Also, as they release their liquid, it'll soften up a little bit of those brown bits from when we were browning the sausage on the bottom of the pan. So you just wanna take your wooden spatula and give that a scrub, and it'll just incorporate back into the softened onions and carrots. So once this has softened up a little bit, we're gonna add our garlic and we're gonna cook until we start to smell the fragrance from the garlic. Not very long because you do not want to burn this garlic. That's why we add it in later. The flavor of burnt garlic's not very pleasant, so a lot of times amateur cookers, they burn garlic and you can almost taste it in whatever it is that you're eating. That's been in there for about a minute. Now we're gonna add a few tablespoons of some tomato paste. And this is a perfect time to season with some salt and some pepper. So now we'll take the softened vegetables and the tomato paste and incorporate them all together. And right now I'm over a medium lowish heat. I had to turn the heat down a little bit before because things were moving a little too fast and I was afraid they were going to get burned. And here we're not looking for color. Now that the tomato paste and the softened vegetables have been incorporated together, they've gotten to cook a little bit, we're gonna add 1 can of crushed and 1 can of petite diced tomatoes. And now we're gonna simmer this over a low heat. Remember, if you're making tomato sauce and it's bubbling and popping, it's way too hot. I don't care what kind of tomato sauce you're making, low and slow is generally the way to go with tomato sauce. And just so we get the rest of this, we're just gonna pour a little bit of water in these cans and clean them out. So now we're gonna put in a little dried oregano out of my mom's garden. Nothing beats this stuff. We're gonna give that a mix. And now we're gonna put our sausage back in. Now we're gonna give this a cover and we're gonna let our lentils finish simmering and this sauce to cook too. When the lentils are done, this sauce should have been cooked for plenty long and it'll be the perfect time to bring them all together. So now let's take our lentils and we're gonna dump the tomato sauce right inside. Make sure we clean this pan up. Get all this beautiful sauce inside with the lentils. And now we're gonna hand tear in some basil leaves. I don't think basil really needs to cook with stuff. Once you put it in, it releases all its aroma and flavors. And if you hand tear it, it doesn't get bruised like the same way it does when you do it with a knife. So we're just gonna hand tear these basil leaves right inside. The heat that's from the lentils and the heat from the sauce will be enough to wilt the basil leaf and release its flavor into this sauce and the lentils. And I'm a basil nut, so I'm putting tons of basil in here, maybe 20 leaves of basil, but you know, you do what's right for you. So now I'm gonna give this a mix and incorporate the basil, the lentils, and the tomato sauce all together. So now I'm just gonna put the cover back on and I'm just gonna let it sit and cool down for about 5 minutes before we plate it. So now that these lentils have had a chance to cool a little bit, let's plate them and let's eat them and let's see how we did. So the consistency of this should be very similar to like a very thick soup. I do not want this to be like watery like a soup. So you can see that it's got some chunk to it and it's not super liquidy. So now let's put a couple scoops of this inside of our bowl. And this is perfect. See how it's like holding shape and it's not just oozing out into the bowl. So now we're gonna sprinkle on a little fresh chopped parsley to add that nice little pop of color. I just had this lying around. And now look how amazing these lentils look. I am super excited to try it. I can't wait to see how we did. So before we eat this, let's shred on some fresh grated Parmesan cheese. This is a Parmigiano Reggiano. And we're gonna put on just a little bit over the top, and I mean just a little bit. We're gonna cover it until we can't see the lentils anymore. And now let's get a nice bite of this. So the lentils, maybe we got some sausage in this bite, who knows? Some of that cheese. This is still steaming hot. Lentils are one of those foods that stays hot forever. This is so good. I didn't even get any sausage in that bite. This was delicious. Maybe you're a pasta addict and you're trying to get off pasta, because this is a great substitute for pasta because it kind of like tastes like it. Super high in fiber, absolutely delicious. I mean, lentils don't get the credit in the world of food like they do. They're so good. And they cook so fast, way faster than beans. In that bite, I got some really nice sausage chunks in there. That was very, very, very delicious. I can't even say much about this because I'm just so excited to eat it. It's really, really good. I absolutely love lentils. I mean, when you can make healthy food that tastes this good, how hard is it to stick to some healthy food? This is so good. This is the recipe that more people need to try and need to eat. And if you haven't tried lentils before, this is the recipe to try, or check out my lentil soup recipe. I'll see you over there. Thanks.